Hello everyone and welcome to lesson 21.3A. I've entitled this video, The People of Central Africa. This video is going to cover pages 656 to 659. The People of Central Africa. Many different ethnic groups live in Central Africa. Each group is united by a shared language and culture. Makeup of the population. Central Africa is home to around 105 million people, which is roughly one-third as many as the United States has. The Democratic Republic of the Congo is by far the most populous country. It holds more than two-thirds of the region's people. Compared to other parts of the world, Central Africa does not have a large population or a high population density. However, its countries have high population growth rates. In all 7 countries, the median age is below 20, which means that children and teenagers make up about half of the population. By comparison, the median age in the United States is about 37. Question number 1. What is the most populated country in Central Africa? It is the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Question 2. What makes the population statistics of Central Africa different to other parts of the world? The answer is that it doesn't have a large population, nor does it have a high population density. So when you look at this map, it's not very densely populated in Central Africa versus other parts of the world. Question number 3. What is happening to the population growth rate of Central Africa? However, the population growth rate is increasing. So it is increasing, but it doesn't have a high population density or a high population in regards to the rest of the world. Question number 4. What group of people makes up about half of the population in East Africa? Young people, children and teenagers. So it's going to be a rapidly booming population as it's made up of a lot of young people. Life expectancy at birth for the people of the region varies considerably. In the Central African Republic, for example, life expectancy is about 50 years, while in Equatorial Guinea and Sao Tome and Principe, it is around 63. Here you see a map that I found off of Google, and you can see that life expectancies vary greatly in Africa. Here you can see in North Africa, people can live to their mid-70s in this part of the region, but then look down here, the life expectancy is much lower in most of the region in Central Africa, with a couple of exceptions. Question number 5. Once again, compared to America's life expectancy of 77 years old, what is the life expectancy of the Central African Republic and Sao Tome and Principe? So you've got 50 and 63, so a lot younger. So people there are dying much sooner than they do in the United States, and that's based on a variety of factors. You can see here lots of things like accidents, violence, access to food, water. I mean, there's just a bunch of reasons why we live much longer in the United States than in many of the countries, in most of the countries, I should say, in Africa, with the exception of a couple, and then definitely in Central Africa. Hundreds of ethnic groups live in the region. Cameroon and the DRC each are home to more than 200 different groups. Some groups spread into 2 or more countries. One such group is called the Fang. Historians believe the Fang once dwelled on the savannah. In the late 18th century, they began a migration into the rainforest. Today, the Fang live in mainland Equatorial Guinea, northern Gabon, and southern Cameroon. Another people found in the region is the Bambuti, sometimes called the Mabuti. The Bambuti live in densely forested areas of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. They are extremely short in stature, as you can see in the picture on the right. Adults average less than 4 feet 6 inches in height. They were probably the earliest inhabitants of an area known as the Ituri Forest. Historical records show that the Bambuti have lived in this area for at least 4,500 years as nomadic hunters and gatherers. The population of Central Africa also includes many refugees. Refugees are displaced people who have been forced to leave their homes because of war or injustice. Between 1997 and 2003, for example, a brutal civil war devastated the Democratic Republic of the Congo. A huge number of refugees fled the conflict. And now we're ready for question number 6. Who are the Fang? The Fang are a group of people that we think once lived in the savannah, and they began migrating to the rainforest, and now those people live in Equatorial Guinea, northern Gabon, and southern Cameroon. Question number 7. What makes the Bambuti people stand out compared to other people in the world? And yes, that was a pun on words there. I said stand out. They stand out because they are so short. Their average height is less than 4 feet 6 inches. As you can see in this picture, they stand out for not standing up, so to speak. Question number 8. We've had this one before. What are refugees? Refugees are people, displaced people, who've been forced to leave their homes because of something horrible like war or injustice. City and country. Most of Central Africa's people live in the rural areas and make their living through subsistence farming. In the DRC, for example, almost 2/3 of the people live in the country. Large urban areas dot the region, however. More importantly, the ratio of city dwellers to rural residents is changing rapidly. For example, every year the DRC's urban areas gain about 4.5% of the population. Many of the chief cities of the region are capitals of countries. Kinshasa, the capital of the DRC, has grown into a sprawling metropolis with around 9 million inhabitants. And you can see a picture of Kinshasa right here. Just across the Congo River from Kinshasa sits Brazzaville, the capital of the Republic of the Congo. Brazzaville is home to about 1.6 million people. In a few countries in this region, more than half the people live in cities. In Gabon, for example, city dwellers account for 86% of the total population. In the Central African Republic, the figure is 62%, and in Cameroon, it is 58%. Cameroon's two major cities, Douala and Yaoundé, each have populations of around 2 million, roughly the population of Houston or Philadelphia. Question number 9. Where do a majority of Central African people live, in the rural areas or the urban areas? They live in the rural areas. Question number 10. How do most Central African people make a living? Through subsistence farming. Question 11. While more Central African people live in rural areas than urban areas, what is changing rapidly in Central Africa? People are definitely moving to the urban areas at a rate of about 4.5% every year. Question number 12. How many people live in Kinshasa, DRC? They are home to more than, or just about 9 million people. Question number 13. What is the capital of the Republic of the Congo? Brazzaville. Question 14. In Gabon, where do 86% of the total population live? In rural areas or urban areas? They live in urban areas. So it's one of the more successful of the Central African countries, and almost 9 out of 10 people in that country live in cities. Question 15. Where do a small majority of the people of Central African Republic and Cameroon live? In rural or urban areas? They do also live in urban areas at 62% and 58%. So once again, more people live in cities in those two countries than in other countries in Central Africa. Question number 16. What are Douala and Yaoundé? Those are two major cities in Cameroon. Each have about 2 million people living in them, roughly the size of like Houston or Philadelphia. Language and religion. Because Central Africa's population is made up of hundreds of different ethnic groups, it is not surprising that hundreds of different languages are spoken across the region. Cameroon, which has been described as an ethnic crossroads, serves as an example of the region's linguistic diversity. 3 main language families are used in Cameroon. In the north, where Islam has been a significant influence, the languages spoken are in the Sudanic family. The Sudanic-speaking people in this part of Cameroon include the Fulani, the Sao, and the Kanuri. The Fulani are Muslims. They began migrating into Cameroon from what is now Niger more than 1,000 years ago. In the southern part of Cameroon, people speak Bantu languages. In the west are found semi-Bantu speakers such as the Bamileke and the Kaikar. During the colonial era, people searched for common linguistic ground, especially when they traded with one another. Certain trade languages emerged. Because France and Belgium had the most widespread interest in the region, French became the most common trade language of Central Africa. And now we can answer question 17. Because Central Africa's population is made of hundreds of different ethnic groups, what is not surprising about language in Central Africa? It's not surprising that they speak hundreds of different languages in the area. Question 18. What is a trade language? Well, taking this from the back of the book, a trade language is defined as a common language that emerges when countries trade with each other. And once again, that's from the back of the book in the glossary. Question number 19. Due to colonialism, what became the most common trade language in Central Africa? French. Central Africa is also diverse in terms of religion. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, for example, roughly 50% of the people are Roman Catholic, 20% are Protestant, 10% are Muslim, and 10% belong to a local sect called the Kimbanguist Church. The remaining 10% follow traditional African religions, which are based on a core set of beliefs, including the existence of a supreme being, the presence of spirits in the natural world, and the power of ancestors and magic. Question 20 through 24. How is religious diversity shown in Central Africa? 50% of the people in Central Africa are Roman Catholic. 20% of the people in Central Africa are Protestant. 10% of the people in Central Africa are Muslim. 10% of the people in Central Africa are or belong to a local sect called the Kimbanguist Church. And the last 10% follow traditional African religions. Well, thank you so much for watching. Before we go, of course, I've got to have something for you. And this is, I thought, an interesting picture when it comes to population diversity or how population is spread out. The population of the red area right here is equal to every blue area combined. Just let that sink in for a moment. That shows you just how densely populated this part of the world is. And that looks like India right there. Definitely Southeast Asia. So just think about that. As many people live in this area as all the other blue areas combined. Wow. That's really a view into population density. Well, thank you again for watching, and have a great day.